Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and on today's episode, I'm talking about John Carpenter's Halloween with my daughter, Katrina. Welcome back to the show, Katrina.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah. So we're finally talking about one of your huge faves.
Yes, indeed.
You are a giant Halloween fan, a giant Michael Myers specifically kind of
Yes.
fan. So, um, she I don't know how she got steered so wrong. Uh, Not that I don't like Halloween, of course. I do like Halloween, but never been a big Michael Myers fan. He's okay, but when I think of slasher icons, I tend to think of the other ones. So, but
I think he's
uh
just a freak.
he is just a freak. But today we're talking about Halloween. I've previously discussed this movie, I think just once before, during my uh Halloween franchise uh run that I did. And Katrina's been on to talk Halloween before, but she talked about the new trilogy, the David Gordon Green trilogy. So we have had a couple of things. If you want to hear more of the Halloween franchise discussion, definitely go back and listen to those episodes. They're a lot of fun. I had a lot of good guests on those as well. So go check that out. But tonight, whatever, we are talking about John Carpenter's Halloween as part of John Carpenter's filmography. We're going through uh, most of his movies. And Tonight we're talking about probably at the very least, the one that most people know him for. I mean, he has, like, to me, and I discussed this on a previous episode, he has like the best like run of movies from 78, from Halloween until They Live. It's like an unbroken stretch of just like bangers. So these next bunch of episodes are going to be really, really fun to talk about, because yeah, um we're just talking about the biggest and the best. But Yeah, so tell me, Katrina, why is it that Halloween is your favorite? And is it just Michael Myers being your favorite, or do you just really love Halloween? What is it? What is it about this movie?
It might just be Michael Myers, but I haven't seen like enough of the other Halloween movies to say it's the franchise itself. But
Right, right.
um I think that there's just something so interesting about Michael in that he is this weirdo. Like there's no rhyme or reason to what he does. And it's he's a fascinating character in that way. Because there's speculation, and like I'm sure in some of the movies they give him reasons for why he does the things he does. But as far as
Mm-hmm.
I know, from what I've seen of the movies, of just the first three Halloween movies and then this most recent trilogy, there's no reason for it.
Yeah. He's just
And
at least based on the first two, because he's not even in Halloween
yeah,
3. These two and then the David Gordon Green trilogy, it
yeah,
just sets him up as just he's psychotic. There's
yeah.
something's wrong with him that
And
is wrong in his head.
I think that that makes it scarier.
Yeah,
Because like,
you definitely need to watch
yeah, I know.
the Thorn trilogy, which is 4, 5, and 6. So
Yeah, I know.
we'll have to
Um,
sit down and watch those someday. So
but I think it's just scarier to not know the reason why
yeah.
killer kills. Um, because it's like you think about like famous serial killers like Ted Bundy and like John Wayne Gacy, BTK, like they all had specific reasons or like
Yeah.
maybe not reasons, but subconscious things that like profilers are able to figure out and be able to catch them.
Right.
But Michael doesn't really have that. Other than I guess his connection to Lori, but that doesn't even start until the first one. And why Lori? You know, like it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make sense. So he's not even that much older than her. She's only like 4 or 5 years older than her. So
Yeah, he's in the time of the movie, he's 21 and she's 17.
yeah,
So,
so he's only
yeah.
4 years older than her. And so it's like there's not really a connection
No,
other than that she left a key under the doormat at his childhood home where he killed his sister.
right.
Like it's
At least according to this movie.
yeah.
So, we find out a little bit more in the second movie that like became canon but was never meant to be canon. Carpenter never wanted that to be canon. But uh yeah, it's no, I agree with you. There's something I think it's interesting because Michael never talks. Um,
Hmm.
he's silent. You never like you never see his face, and when you do, it's little bits. You never really
Hmm.
fully see his face. So he is
It's
very much the shape. He is
yeah.
not,
He's
he's
like a ghost.
yeah, he's very inhuman. And I think that's what appeals for a lot of things because you've got him, then you've got Jason, who is pretty humanized in the beginning. And then, he's still not talkative. He doesn't talk either. But Jason seems to be motivated by something more.
Hmm.
And then Freddy's just like hugely like, you know, um, menacing and comical and everything else that they've done with him. And you got Chucky, you got Ghostface, you got all these guys who have more personality and stuff like that. Where just like Michael is just like dead set. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna keep coming. Um,
I think
you
as a
know,
woman too, it's like you grow up and you learn about like people like stalking you, like people following
yeah,
you in cars and hiding behind bushes and like things like that, and to always keep your head on a swivel. And Michael
yeah,
is just kind of that guy who does all of those things, and it's like it kind of lends itself to that more like realistic thing where like yeah, if you get hurt you won't remember the face of the person who hurt you and they
yeah.
might not talk and like things like that. And so I think on that like realistic part where I think it can like it's a reflection of what men do
Yeah.
and are capable of in some
Yeah.
way. And I guess that's why I find him so interesting because of that
Yeah.
reflection.
No, that's I think a really good observation about that, because, it definitely, because they do like slashers or stalkers and stuff like
Hmm.
that. They're, in a lot of ways, and you always have the final girls and stuff. And so there's a lot of correlation between like what you're saying with like, I feel like with these slashers and in a lot of ways that kind of, I guess, stalker kind of similarity, and it makes a lot of sense for that, and it's, I think, in a way, I think that's kind of why, in a way too, that we like the slasher because 9 times out of 10 most slashers, they get caught and killed or whatever like that by
Hmm.
the end of the movie. You see the the final girl trope that rises up in these through the 80s, and so it feels like sort of a um maybe potentially like not catharsis but like something similar to that where
Yeah.
there's you get that feeling of
Yeah,
that
but you're safe.
without, but you're safe. Yeah, well, you get to
That's why people
you
like
get to
haunted
have,
houses and stuff like
yeah,
that. is
Yeah,
because
you get
there's a
that.
safety in the thrill of
Yeah,
experiencing something scary, but you know that you're not actually in
right.
danger.
Well, and at the end, like I said, with a lot of these, with the final girls getting to live and or dispatch the slasher in it too, that brings up a whole like aspect of it
Mhm.
for people too, so that they can, you know, see, at least get some kind of um see, I'm there's stupid words right
Like
there and I can't
relief and conclusion.
yeah, something like that where it's like it you get that feeling without like, because life isn't like that a lot of
Yeah.
times. There
Well,
is
like,
no, there is no resolution.
yeah.
And
Well, in
so
this movie,
the
Michael
movies, yeah,
Michael disappears. Like,
yeah,
you don't know what happened to him. He could come back for Lori, and he
yeah,
does in the later movies. And so it's
yeah,
like that. I think that's another reason why Michael is such an interesting character because he's not like all of the other slasher villains and
yeah,
things like that, where they have that big reveal and they have that final moment, like Scooby-Doo moment, where you're like, okay, we
right,
got the bad guy.
right,
Like that never happens with Michael. It's, oh, I survived this time.
yeah. Well, and I think that's what makes it interesting too, because you get three different timeline variations with this series too about how this affects Lori
Hmm.
um in the future. One is the immediate aftermath of just the same night in
Yeah.
Halloween 2. So that continues. So there's really no relief for her. There's just immediate like into the next part of that
Yeah.
night. And then in Halloween H2O, you get 20 years later and how she's dealing with that and everything like that. And then in Halloween 2018, where we get 40 years later now,
Hmm.
and how that would have affected her in that intervening time. And so I think there's an interesting bit
And
with that.
2018 is also not just how it affected her, but her family.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I mean, H2O is the same because in that one she's got a son
Mm.
and everything. So there's it definitely, there's definitely things that there's this legacy in the Halloween franchise of this, of what it did to Laurie, what it does to everybody else. Um and you know, it's an interesting series because of that. And I love that, you know, as much as um it's kind of wildly uneven as a franchise, that you do get kind of these different stories and stuff like that. Um, you know, even if I think they should just kind of take a break from it for a while.
Yeah.
But let's talk directly about John Carpenter and this movie specifically. Because this is like, it's his third movie, but it's his second like kind of like not big movie, but it's his second like major release after Assault on Precinct 13. And then, but it's a big hit. It's a runaway hit. It does super well. And kind of it's not the first slasher movie, but it's the one that kind of sets the tone for everything else. Friday the 13th comes afterward and kind of apes it in a lot of ways because it's like it's set on a holiday, you know. And so we get this kind of holiday slasher vibe throughout, you know, afterward, because everybody wants to mimic it, you know, to varying degrees. There's good ones, there's bad ones. um but um but yeah, this kind of sets the template for everything that comes later, in terms of everything. And this one was uh I believe, and I might be wrong, um gotta look this up real quick. It was co-written. John Carpenter and his producer Deborah Hill wrote it, and I think, if I'm correct again, they co-wrote it where she wrote the woman, the female parts, and he wrote the male parts, um, so that they could get, you know, kind of more authentic voices on both sides of that, especially for the women's roles. So I think that's a really cool thing to do. Um, that at least, you know, this is what I read on the you know, IMDb trivia
Hmm.
parts. So I think that's really cool that they actually did that and had um, that kind of balance,
Yeah.
because I think that's kind of important, I think, in a lot of ways. Yeah, it says Deborah Hill wrote most of the dialogue for the female characters while John Carpenter concentrated on Dr. Loomis's speeches. So, um, so I think that's really cool and interesting. Because unfortunately we don't get that a lot of times. And I'm not saying that guys can't write for women and women can't write for guys and stuff like that, because it happens all the time and everything like that. But I think that it's an interesting way to do it, is to get a good mix of it and to rely on somebody like that to get that more authentic feeling to the dialogue.
Yeah.
So
Especially for that time period where it
yeah.
was like pre-80s, like I think that I don't know, you probably have a better idea of it than I do, um but just from what
Yeah.
I understand is that time period, although it does have lots of opportunity and things like that, like more so than say 10, 20 years ago, like before the film was released, it's still the 70s compared to now. And it's like there's still like movies that had come out around that era have like a certain tone where it's like still has that kind of misogynistic like
Oh yeah. No,
stuff in it.
especially in the horror
So
space, that was something that they haven't even today fully gotten rid of, but it's been over time we've seen
yeah,
a lot less of it, thankfully. Um, yeah, no, I think it's really good. This was made on a budget of $300,000 over a 20-day shoot.
wow,
Um, and it made $47 million at the time. So it's one of the most successful independent films of all time. So
that's crazy.
yeah, I think, if I'm correct, and I could be wrong again, but I think I heard them say that this was the most successful independent film until Blair Witch, and then Blair
Mm,
Witch took that title, and then something else took it away from
Blair
Blair
Witch is
Witch
so
later.
good.
Yeah, the Blair Witch Project was really good. Um, so let's talk about some of the characters and stuff like that, because I mean this, kind of, we kind of talked about Michael already. Let's talk about like Dr. Loomis.
Hmm.
Dr. Loomis is the crazy old man of the bunch. And like, so I think this is kind of the problem I've always had with this series, is that I just I think it's fun because he kind of plays it like kind of big. But I just felt like he's not the greatest person to be the doctor, because he's just like, I spent the first half of, this time with him trying to, you know, figure out how to help him and everything like that. And then the rest of the time I was just trying to figure out how to keep him locked away. Because it's just like he's just pure evil. Um, and it doesn't sound like there was anything. I mean, it's not explicitly said in this movie or anything that he did anything to anybody while locked away. So, other than the fact that he killed his sister in the one scene, and I guess hasn't talked since, then it just always struck me as a little odd. And just like, and to be fair, I'm not a psychiatrist, but it just seemed like, there's got to be a better way to deal with him than that. I mean,
Yeah, but why?
he was proven right. So he wasn't
Yeah,
wrong. He just comes off sounding like a crazy crackpot.
yeah.
So
But it's also like, why would the prison system care to get a better doctor for a person
true.
who killed their sister when they were 8 years old? So
Well, I mean, at the very least, he was committed to a psychiatric facility, not necessarily prison
yeah,
for
but
this.
still, he had
So,
to.
but he is
He's
locked up.
locked
Yeah.
away like a prisoner and has, I'm sure, was sentenced in a similar way to
Right.
that. So it's
Well, and I'm wondering today, like in today's day and age, if like if he wouldn't have been medicated, like instead of just
Well,
you know,
back then, the type of like psychiatry and stuff they did was like hypnosis shit. Like,
well, they did medication and stuff like that too, but I don't think the medications that they had at that time were as potentially good as they are now. Not that all the medications are that great now either, but they had stuff like lithium and everything like that to, you know, do stuff. And I again, I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't know all the ins and outs of all that. I could be completely talking out my ass. So
I think that, like, just generally, like, back then, mental health wasn't even a consideration. It
oh
was like either you're crazy or you're not. And
yeah,
so it's like they saw him like kill his sister at 8 years old and was like, okay, you're crazy, that you're put in this box, you're doing this thing,
yeah,
and you don't want to
absolutely.
talk, you don't want to talk to us, fine. You're gonna just shut up and be put in this box until you
Right.
eventually escape. And so it's not,
Well, and also he's only 21 at the time of this and everything like that. So he's been institutionalized for his whole childhood and the
who else,
beginning of
like
his
who
adult
wouldn't
life.
go mute after doing that? Like, well,
Well,
he
I mean,
seemed like
yeah.
he was a mute kid anyways, because like I mean his parents were trying to like talk to him after
Yeah.
he killed his sister, and like they couldn't talk to him then either. So, and we don't know if he talked before he killed his sister.
Yeah, I mean,
So
we
it's
just
like
like
there's too much that we don't know to be able to make
yeah.
like a conclusion on whether Dr. Loomis's like
Right. Yeah.
care or whatever is appropriate or not. It's
Yeah.
just
I
I
just see
think
it
that
from a
Dr.
2026 lens whenever I
Yeah,
watch it, like, or, you know, this now lens of today rather than the lens of then. And I'm always like, just seems like so much, like it's so much that he's doing that just seems wrong to me.
but it's
But,
like
you
in the
know,
context of the film,
yeah,
if he has the experience of looking after him for like almost 20 years, 15 years, whatever, the sheriff in the town or whatever should be listening to him. Because if he
yeah,
says that there's this dangerous person, they should be like, okay, let's do what we can. Whereas I feel like everybody's just kind of like, rah, rah, like, whatever. Like, it doesn't make any sense why,
yeah,
like, Halloween can't be that big of a holiday where the city would get that much fucking money, like, to not shut down the town for a night to
yeah,
catch this guy. Like,
yeah.
because did they even do a curfew? Was that a thing? I don't think they
No,
did.
because he doesn't kill anybody like in the town until that night. Because like that's
No,
what I
but
was
he's
saying
still a
when we were
dangerous
watching it
person. He
too.
went back to his hometown. Like,
True, they could have just shut the town down and everything like that. But I don't think the police
I mean,
even like thought he was like whenever he comes rolling up and everything, they're like the police were just kind of like, okay, we'll try to find this guy. We'll help you try to find this guy. They
that's
didn't take it super
stupid.
seriously because again, he hadn't killed anybody that they know of at that point. So
I mean, he tried
yeah.
to kill the nurse. Like, isn't that enough to want to
But
like?
I mean, they only know what the doctor's telling him too. So, you know, and they don't know that again, he's the boogeyman of Haddonfield at that time. They people know of the story. They had like the
Mhm.
Myers house was like, you know, because you remember
Yeah,
Tommy was talking about how it was like haunted or whatever, just a scary house and all that. So I mean,
always
obviously
scares
people
them away.
kind of knew, yeah, people kind of knew what was going on, but again, it was 15 years ago. You have to think of like when you think of things that are 15 years ago, like you yourself were 9. So like you
Yeah.
know things are totally different like 15 years ago when you think about it. So I could see where it just kind of over time people are just like, what, that Myers kid that killed his sister that one time, like what, who cares, like, you know, what's he gonna do, you know? And so I don't think the police were necessarily sleeping on it, but I don't think they thought it was such a huge deal that they needed to shut the town down.
I mean, if
um
you have one serial killer in a small town like that, I feel like there's enough that you can do. Whereas, like,
Again though, again, he wasn't necessarily a serial killer
well, I
yet
guess
at that.
not, but still,
Yeah,
like,
at that
a
point he
dangerous
killed one
individual.
person. Yes, a dangerous individual, sure. Yeah. um
Like,
but
schools go
yeah,
into lockdown for less these days. Like,
these days you have to remember though that's
I
1978. We
guess.
had the whole 80s where they were still letting us just go out wild, like, you know.
I guess
I
that's true.
we lived in a much different time. We lived in the era of serial killers, and our parents still didn't care enough to keep us inside the house. So, they literally had an ad campaign on the TV, like in the 80s, like it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Yeah.
So,
Huh?
uh,
Where are they?
yeah. And if the good parents were there, they were like, yeah, they're in their room. I hope. Um, but yeah, it's it was a wild time. So yeah, so they didn't really care as much in the 70s and 80s. Um, but yeah, no, I don't think Loomis is a bad character. I just think that, he comes off as the crazy old man and everything. And um I just it's fine. I think Donald Pleasance is a great actor. He's doing it well though. So and he gets even crazier in the sequels. So definitely you definitely need to check out more of those. So but then yeah, we get the other major character, which is Jamie Lee Curtis in her screen debut as Laurie Strode. Which I have to say, based on this, she's a good actress. But it's definitely, you could tell it's a first role for her.
Mhm.
She's not doing anything super great. Like, she's not acting it out of the park or anything like that.
Yeah.
She's definitely becomes a better actress over time. I think she's a great actress, don't get me wrong. And I think she
Mhm.
does well in this. It's just it's a small movie. I mean, it's you have to understand again, independent movie, small actress, small budget, stuff like
Mhm.
that. She did good for what it was. So, um, coming from acting royalties
I
such as
think
she
for
does.
unknown actors these days, the bar is a little bit higher
Yeah. Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Unknown actor, but they've really spent like 10 years doing
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, these
Yeah.
days, they've been doing bit parts and they've had their own YouTube channels and
Yeah, seriously.
TikToks and stuff like that nowadays. So,
It's like
somebody
Renee Zegler is like, or not Renee. I was thinking Renee
Rachel.
Rapp and Rachel Zegler at the same time, so I said Renee Zegler. Yeah, Rachel Zegler, she had been doing YouTube and like other like things for a long time, and
Yeah.
like West Side Story and Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes kind of really broke her out. Um, and it's like she's technically like a newer actress, but she's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that's what's funny is just, it's something like that. I think, but, Jamie Lee Curtis, she does great in this. Um she goes on to become a scream queen on her own. She follows this up with Halloween 2 and Terror Train and The Fog and a couple other horror movies that I'm not thinking, Prom Night. So she becomes a scream queen pretty quickly and gets her chops under her. Um but but I think, and I'm not saying she does horribly. She does great. She's got her friends, played by Nancy Loomis and PJ Souls, um, which is they. I remember when we were watching it this time, you were talking about how unnatural some of the dialogue sounded,
yeah.
especially between the girls. Um, and again, I don't think that's necessarily because I didn't feel like it was that unnatural to me. It just felt like that was just the way people acted and the
I
writing
haven't
was at the
watched
time
enough movies from that
from that
era
time
to
period.
know what
Yeah.
the like accent of that of the movies were back then because I feel like
Yeah.
every decade or every movie era in Hollywood has like a particular accent that people have. Like even the 2000s, like you hear people talk in like Mean Girls and Clueless and like Legally Blonde and like those kinds of like films and they have
Yeah.
a particular accent to them.
Oh yeah. No,
And
it's definitely
it's not just the California accent, it's beyond that.
yeah. No, I think it's just it just everything has a time and a place and you can tell certain movies from certain time periods and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So um but yeah, I think it's interesting too because in the beginning we get the one we get the one kill from Jason from Michael in the beginning. And then we get the he kills his sister and then 15 years later He tries to, kill the nurse, doesn't kill the nurse. Um, and uh, then we find out a little bit later he killed the guy to get the coveralls from.
Hmm.
Um, but then there's nothing for like a long time. It's like this big stretch while we're getting to like meet and learn all the people in the town, and everything's kind of getting set up, and they're kind of being stalked by Michael this whole time, and he's doing his famous, bush scene and
Yeah.
um, outside in the backyard and everything like that. Very iconic things. Um, and I do want to say that, like, I think that's what makes the movie a lot of fun too, and very iconic in itself, is just these really great shots like that of just this guy standing there and
Hmm.
just
It just
doing
adds
nothing. It's just,
tension.
yeah, it just adds all this tension. And so that even though there's not the major killings that start to happen at the end, um, with Laurie's friends, they don't happen until like close to like the very end. Like the last half hour is like when things really start to
Yeah.
happen. And so that first hour, other than like the first, you know killing and stuff in the escape, really nothing going on. But it's never boring. So I
Yeah.
think that's, great testament to just like, you know the music and the kind of
Yeah.
slow burn to
The
it that it
music really
is.
adds a lot to it.
Oh man, like this is again, like he just did the music for Assault on Precinct 13, and then last movie he does the music in this. It's partially an economical choice because it's just cheaper to do the music on his own.
But he does it well.
Um, and he does do it well. He's got so many iconic themes from his movies and stuff like that. It's just like, the Halloween theme song. Everybody knows the Halloween theme song, and just, I don't know. It's great. It just works so well in this. And um but yeah, I think that, it's great once the killings do start. You've had this, tension. You've been waiting for all this, and then it finally happens. And then um and then when it finally does happen, you're like, okay, now we're cooking, so um I think it's cool. I think, and I think the kills are great. Um they're not overly gross or gory or anything like that,
Yeah.
which is fine. I'm good on either way. If they're gory, they're cool, but if not, they're cool too,
Yeah.
as long as they're done well. Um, I think it's funny though that, there's the moment where he puts on the sheet and the glasses. So he's literally got the glasses over the sheet, over his mask, over his
Yeah.
face. So he's like, a hat on a hat on a hat. Um, so
Be
it's just
sweaty.
right. Um, it's set in Haddonfield, Illinois, on Halloween, so it's probably pretty cool there. So,
Yeah.
um, even if it was actually filmed in California,
In
um,
springtime.
in springtime, yeah. So, yeah, I think it's cool too, because like, so this was originally called the Babysitter Murders. So, which I think would have been fine. I don't think it would have been. I think honestly, even if it were called the Babysitter Murders, I still think it would have been iconic.
Hmm.
I don't know that it would have created a franchise necessarily, but it could have been a good one and done. Like a really great one and done. But I think naming it Halloween really elevated its status for that. And um but I think it's interesting because it was called the Babysitter Murders, and that's largely who dies. It's just these girls who
Yeah.
were the ones he's stalking and killing are the babysitters of these kids. So
But I feel like you only really get to like know Lori.
yeah, I mean, you get to kind of know the other two a little bit. Like, it's definitely Laurie's show, more than anybody. I
Hmm.
mean, she's obviously the main girl in this. Um, and it's interesting too, because there's people who talk about this and say, it's part of the um aspect of how the virgin becomes the final girl. And they didn't John Carpenter and Deborah Hill have stated that they didn't consciously set out to depict that, to
Hmm.
depict virginity as the way to, you know, defeat the serial killer or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, they said the reason why the horny teens all die is simply that they are so preoccupied with getting laid that they don't notice
Yeah.
that there's a killer at large, which is truly what happens.
Yeah.
You watch this movie and you understand Lori's on alert because she's paying attention.
Yeah.
She's listening to the kids, she's paying attention, whereas the other two are trying to get laid.
Yeah. Because
And
it's also just not even like when they're trying to get laid. It's like when they're walking down the street and Lori sees the guy behind the bush. And then her friend goes, what are you talking about?
yeah, yeah,
It's like just the lack of awareness.
yeah, yeah. No, the serious lack of awareness. And I mean, even today, we have, you know, it's better. I think women are better at paying attention, but you see it all the time that there's still like this lack of awareness. And it's not just women. Guys aren't paying attention just as much.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's the guys who are
Yeah.
creating the, you know, the
More
danger.
often than not.
Yeah. And so I think that, but in this instance for sure, and I think in most slashers you see it, that largely the person who isn't focused on getting sex and partying and drugs and everything like that, the person that's staying clear-headed, the person that's focused and everything like that, that's the reason why they're surviving. Isn't because they're the virgin. It's just because they're not focused on
Yeah.
all the other stuff. And so I think that's the more important message. And I think it's definitely something that they got away from over time, and you don't see it as often. I think
Yeah.
there might have been a response in part. I don't even think it was a conscious response in the 80s to doing that. Like killing all the bad kids and, you know, the good one becoming the final girl or guy. So I think it's interesting though. Again, this movie kind of set a template, good and bad, for all of that. But I think you know, what they did with this movie in general is really good because I mean it set a whole series of
Hmm.
movies in motion. You know, I mean, the 80s were littered with slasher movies in the wake of this. So some good and most not that great. But
And even people who don't like horror know who Michael is. Like
yeah. Oh yeah.
I have a Michael Myers bumper sticker, and the other day I was just in a parking lot and heard people go, "Well, Michael Myers," like, and they didn't look like people who would like horror. They just were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, cool, bumper sticker." Or like I wear my the second Michael Myers hoodie sweater kind of thing, and I get compliments on it all the time. And it's just simply because it's Michael. And
Right.
I think that there's a lot of people who know it and like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
I
beyond he transcends horror.
no, and I think that's the thing. There's definitely those icons like Michael, like Jason, like Freddy, Ghostface, you know, those ones that transcend the um who have entered the pop culture in such a way that you don't even have to watch the movies to know who they are.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, and that
And know
like and
their
it
like kind of personality too.
yeah,
Like everybody knows that
yeah,
Michael is the quiet, like,
yeah, he's the sheep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Um yeah, I think, you know, and that is something that got cemented in the 80s as well. Like Michael had, you know, the first movie is in 78, and then I think the second one came out in 81. Um, and then they just with all the other stuff that came out afterward, not just these, because they had the first couple of them, like two came out right, not too long after that. Three came out, but three was a different one. And then because three was so different, it kind of derailed the franchise for a little bit. And I think the next one wasn't until the late 80s. And so it it just was I don't know. It's interesting to think about the legacy of Michael. in a way too because of that. Just he is this icon of horror now.
He's
But
multi-generational too. It's like
yeah. Oh yeah, no, he's had a movie in every decade since he debuted, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s and 2020s now. So, he's been through it all.
mhm.
So, but yeah, I think you know, this is this is a to me this is a great movie. It's one of those ones that I'll admit I don't go back to. I will admit I'm not a huge Halloween franchise fan. I have all of the movies. Like every one of them on 4K except for the Rob Zombie ones because they don't have them on 4K yet. And once they make those on 4K, I'll probably get those too. But I have everything else. And so I think it's a really great, fun series. It's got its ups and downs like any horror franchise does. But I think, it all starts here with this John Carpenter Halloween and everything just kind of piggybacks off that and it's just awesome. It's this one is like probably the best one. Um and and I think everybody can agree with that. That is, people might have their favorites that are maybe not this one, but I think arguably this is the best one of the whole
Yeah.
franchise. So, but we'll have to get you to watch some of those other ones. We'll go through and sit down and watch the other ones you haven't watched yet.
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, so that's all I have to say about this movie. Do you have anything that you want to say that we missed yet? Is there something we didn't talk about that you want to mention?
No.
Okay, fair. All right. Well, thank you for coming on and talking to me about this movie that you enjoy. You enjoy your Michael Myers, and you're very welcome for that hoodie that you
Yes.
wear all the time.
Thank you. It's
So
literally behind me.
yeah, um, yeah, I saw it at what's it called at Spirit, and was just like, oh, she's got to have this. So I got her the it's
The
a
great one.
like a jersey, like a hockey jersey, because she was
Yeah.
playing hockey there for a little while too. So it like totally fit everything she was liking. So, but yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. Is there any place you would like people to potentially follow you online or
No,
no?
not really online anymore. Like not
Yeah.
like that. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Like I have my links posted, but there's really I don't get on as much as I used to. So, which is, not real great when you're trying to promote a podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do what I can. But all right. Well, thank you again for coming on and we'll try to get you on again soon.
Hmm.
But until then, stay creepy. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on Teepublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.